Welcome to Real Feels, the podcast that invites people to be public with their private persona. In a world where we are constantly redefining what it means to be a man, I'd like to take some time to find out who we are, who we aim to be, and the space in between. I'm your host, Brad Gage. My friend Miguel Ferrer works internationally as a writer and director for feature films, music videos, and commercials. An exciting life as a storyteller he could only have realized because his parents emigrated from Venezuela to Miami when he was a young boy. His heritage is his pride, though Miguel is not afraid to critique the types of toxic male traits that permeate Latino culture. We break down ways to curb macho bullying, how being handsome doesn't have as much of an effect on women as you think, and a bunch more in today's episode. But above all, I'm grateful he took some time to be here with me right now. Miguel, how are you doing today?
Fantastic now that I'm here.
Yeah. How long were you out of the country?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yes.
And you just got back?
Just got back.
Like yesterday, 2 days ago?
Yesterday.
You got back yesterday?
Literally yesterday, yes.
And so is it you feel relief? What do you feel right now?
It was a fantastic experience. I feel relief. Yes, I love California, so being back here is amazing, and being back at home in my own bed. But it was an experience that needed to happen, and I was very fortunate that everything came out great. The people that I was with were amazing, and I have a lifelong memories from the journey.
You have lifelong memories.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about, that's a big statement.
Yeah. Well, I was in South America.
Yes.
And also in Central America, shooting projects. And
what kind of projects?
It was.
Do you have to keep it general?
No,
Do you work for the CIA?
Yes. Here's the NDA. No, it was 3 music videos.
Oh, nice.
And doing prep for a film that I'm going to shoot down there. And they're phenomenal technicians and people down there that are incredibly talented people and incredibly gifted artists that I'm super excited to collaborate with, and whom having the opportunities that we have here or in other countries, they would fly. They would just fly to the stratosphere.
Well, that is, I think, what's interesting. Probably some of the fears that are happening right now in America about immigrants is that, like, they work harder than us because they have to, and they end up being better at things and succeeding. And so, of course, they're trying to keep the power. It is an interesting thing because it is like, none of us who were born in America earned being born here.
Yeah.
And no one who was not born here earned not being born here. So it is a very weird thing, a weird pride point. Yeah. That could be for any country. But anyways, I want to ask you to focus more on you a little bit. First question is, who are you? How would you describe yourself?
I am. I'm an arepa. That's what I am.
What is that?
An arepa is a Venezuelan dish. It's a very, very famous Venezuelan dish. It's a cornmeal patty, crunchy on the outside, soft on the inside. Okay, you fill it up with anything you want, an assortment of flavors, let's just say. And at least the one I make has a special sauce, secret sauce that I can't.
What kind of sauce? What's the?
It's a secret.
What's the genre of sauce?
The genre is in the guac genre.
Guac genre, okay.
But it has some special ingredients, and then you throw that in there, and it's just an explosion of flavors in your mouth.
And what is the contents of your arepa?
Of my arepa, it's usually
you.
Oh,
as a person, not
me as a person.
Yeah, save that for the cooking version of the podcast.
After this.
What's inside of you? Inside that softer side of the cornmeal,
I think that it's an assortment of flavors. Whether it's, I like to be very serious about my work and my work ethic and my profession, and I like to joder, what they say in Spanish, joder, which is to mess around, to like make people laugh, to have a good time. like nonstop laughing. I take pride. I'm also half Cuban, half Spanish, and I take pride in having had the opportunity and the gift to assimilate all these different cultures into my life and all these different parts of my life, and kind of cherry pick different qualities of different cultures, like the sazon and the vibrance of the Cuban culture, the hard work ethic, and the always pushing forward kind of attitude of the Venezuelan culture, or that I've seen of the Venezuelan culture.
You can really connect with these very different aspects of your heritage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
And that makes you feel what? Vibrant? What is there pride there? What?
Yeah, there's a little bit of I think a health. There used to be a little bit of an unhealthy level of pride, and now being older is a much healthier pride in your heritage, where you come from, what your family has done to be able to get you to this place. Yeah. The reason why I'm here is because both of my families immigrated from their countries, running away from an oppressive government in Cuba and in Spain. And then I immigrated because we were running away from an oppressive government in Venezuela. So just to be...
You made it.
Yeah, I'm here.
I know that. I mean, really, truly, like that kind of experience, I can't even fathom, because it's like... just existing here is a win. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, succeeding is quite a fucking feat. And I think there's a level of respect that is just not given by white folk towards that. And it's a very similar story to white people from maybe a couple hundred years ago, but it's like we forget. Mm-hmm. How much have you felt separate or different living here?
When I came in '96 to the States, I did feel very different. I was actually the only Venezuelan in my school.
Where was that? Where'd you live?
In Miami.
In Miami.
Whereas now it's populated by hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. But I was the only Venezuelan in my school, so I had to assimilate. So it was both. I felt alone, and at the same time, it was a blessing in disguise, because I had to assimilate into American culture, even Latin American culture, which is different than South American culture. So whereas now, if I would have immigrated now, I would have been, surrounded by my Venezuelan friends, Venezuelan parents, and that would have been my identity. Whereas immigrating in '96 at that time, all my friends listened to Tupac, B.I.G., Wu-Tang Clan, Uncle Luke, and I had to assimilate into that culture and to my benefit, gain that and gain those, whether it was musical influence or just a cultural influence, or what it was to be Latin American in Miami in the 90s. At first I felt alone, but then I very quickly realized, even at 12 years old, that it was an opportunity for me to write, it was a blank slate. It was a carte blanche. I could write my story however way I wanted. And I wanted to soak it all in, soak up all the opportunity. I asked the principal of the school, I asked him, how much money does it cost to make the soccer team? And he was like, what do you mean? I go, well, in Venezuela, you have to, your parents have to make a line at 5 a.m., whatever day of the school assigns to then get you into the soccer team, pay $500 a year or a semester.
Whoa.
To get you into the soccer team. And he's looking at me going, oh no, you just got to try out. And if you're one of the best 21, you make the team. And I'm 12 years old and I'm looking at him like, you mean you only have to work hard and be one of the best 21 and you're in the team? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, do you have volleyball? Do you have track and field? What else can I do it all? And looking back on it, it was this alien concept of, in this country, I think that for the most part, you work really hard at something, whether that is your vocation or even a relationship, friendship, and you can achieve great things. And that's something that I never took for granted because I didn't have it. You know, a lot of people still don't have it.
Yeah.
You know?
What does it mean to you to be a man?
Responsibility for others. And that comes in many levels, mentally, emotionally, and physically. Coming from the Latin culture, it's very evident, the whole like macho, like I'm a strong man, you know,
right.
that I provide for my family and for all the women in my life, my mother, my grandmother, my wife, my daughter. I am the macho, you know. But it's not that. It's actually providing for everybody around you and for your fellow men as well, emotional and mental support when they need it, being the best version of yourself in that moment, so that if somebody comes to you, whether it's your 22-year-old niece who's having issues with a boyfriend, or your friend in a professional setting, or your colleague, or even a stranger, to be able to provide a sense of care to the community, to your immediate community, and to the community that beyond that, to feel a sense of healthy responsibility for that and to care. That to me is being a man, to care about others. The Jesuits, the model for the Jesuits is in all to love and to serve, and todo amar y servir. So in all to love and to serve, but to serve others.
The serve part's been a big kind of light bulb for me recently, because I think we living out here in LA especially are in a bubble of lacking in service. We are absolutely, no one's interested in serving anyone but ourselves. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of power that comes from that, and there's a lot of joy that comes from that. Talk a little bit about, you mentioned it, the posturing, the kind of machismo of the Latino male. Like you've I'm sure experienced that maybe in your family, with your friends. What does that look like to you? What like paint a kind of picture of what that would be?
Well, an unhealthy sense of pride, and very apparent through heightened insecurity.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've seen situations in which friends or family members have, even in a joking way, have gotten kind of poked at, and they immediately, you know, stick their chest out, you know, and prove that they are the alpha, you know. And it's like, we get it.
It's unneeded levels of dominance.
Like, it was a joke. It's all good. Like, I love you. It's, you know. And I think that it's cultural. And I don't think I know it's cultural. And it's something that it used to be rampant. It's still rampant in some countries and in some areas, unfortunately. But I think that through the globalization of information and social media, the Latino man living in Latin America has become a bit more self-aware of his shortcomings.
And the education, having conversations, I mean, that's what I've witnessed as well. How did you maneuver that? Because you're, I don't know if you've always been more artistic. You clearly are now as a director and writer, but, you know, someone more artistic, more sensitive, as I know you to be. How did you maneuver that landscape as a kid and as an adult?
In the States, it was easier than in South America. In South America, I was bullied.
Like all the time? Like what did that look like?
It looked like I went to a school that there was a lot of wealthy kids, and I didn't dress or talk or have the same experiences as those kids, even though my parents took great care of me, but we didn't really, you know, drive nice cars or any of that. Pretty much what that in Venezuela, in that moment, you know, kids can be cruel sometimes when they're ignorant or when they haven't been taught.
Yeah. Or have been taught to be cruel.
Yes. And in the States, it was easier because of the athletics that I threw myself into, the sports. Because, yeah, I write poetry. I've been writing poetry since I was 7 years old. My grandfather was a poet. So I wrote poetry, and I wrote poetry to girls. But in the States, it didn't matter nobody messed with me because I have the athletic achievements.
Right, your status was established because of athletics.
Right.
Yes.
And I recited poetry in Spanish in front of people, and nobody.
How did that go over?
I mean, for me, it went splendidly. Because at that point in my life, at 12, I didn't care what others thought.
Sure.
I was gonna recite a love poem in Spanish and for a competition, and I didn't care what anybody said. I was going to do it the best. Like, my dad helped me on it for 3 months or 2 or 3 months. We practiced it over and over again. And I didn't care. I mean, I guess nobody even approached me in a way, in a demeaning way, I think it's because of the other side. But they did pick on people that played magic and were on robotics.
Yeah.
And they picked on those guys. And then I became friends with those guys. And then I would be like, why are you picking on these guys just because they're writing or they're reading comic books? I have friends that were in the football team that were closeted nerds, hardcore closeted nerds. And they knew that if they would come out saying, I like Power Rangers and I like, X-Men, that no Latino man likes that shit. Like, what is that? That's for kids, and you're a man. You're 13 years old. You're a man.
Right. Well, they are. Yeah.
So that.
Can you think of a moment, or at least a subject or an idea that you changed your mind about in your youth or even early 20s when it comes to masculinity or treating women or any of that stuff? Can you think of an instance where you're like recognized where, this is a nexus of change that I can make in my life?
Yes.
I know this is a tough question, and this is a little bit new for me on the podcast, because why I'm asking a question like that is because I'm trying to open up more dialogue for men to think about changing the ways they think. And I am not coming at this like I have figured everything out. I am constantly changing the way I interact mentally, emotionally, with even thoughts about women and with women, because I'm open to understanding that I don't know everything.
Right.
And so I've had a lot of these moments, but like nobody's talking about them. So that's why I'm bringing stuff like this up. Anyways, that's my long preamble to that question.
So my mom, my grandmother, and my sister are really strong women that have taken on insurmountable challenges and have overcome them. My grandmother bringing the whole family from Cuba to the States, my mom with many things in Venezuela, and my sister, same thing, immigrating. And they are the engines of the family. And so looking back, it's no surprise that, out of my action heroes in the 90s, Sarah Connor and Ripley are two of my top 4.
Definitely a rarity for a young boy.
Women who, like, the character is just somebody that says, oh, cool, I'm a waitress. Oh, there's some cyborg from the future that's going to come to kill me. Oh, we got to step it up and kill the cyborg. Let's go do that. And then doing it. And Ripley, the same thing. Oh, there's this killing machine, xenomorph. And then, okay, I have to step up and do this to survive. And they do it. No buts or questions and no hesitation. So I grew up thinking about women that way. Thinking about women that, some of my track heroes, Gail Devers, the American hurler, who... They asked her in an interview, oh, you wear your nails super long and you wear perfume but tell us about that. Why? Why do you do that? No one is gonna smell you or whatever during the race. And she said, and I remember I was 14 years old when I saw this interview, and she said, well, because I don't do it for anybody else. I do it for me. And just because I have masculine and I'm a competitor, I'm a competitor, and I have this urge to compete and to win. That doesn't mean that I can't be feminine and be a woman and show that I want to look good and I want to have my nails painted and my hair done. And I was like, oh yes, I love that. That's amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Because when I came to the States, there was always this thing of like, oh, if a girl plays soccer, she's a tomboy.
Right.
And it's like, but have you seen some of the soccer players? Because they're like, and also tomboy is like a negative term, which is
right.
Why can you be a woman, want to be a competitor, play soccer, do track and field, and also like look super sexy or good if you want to, you know, or not, you know, but be the woman that you want to be,
right?
You know, so my paradigm shift came because I didn't see because I was in this bubble of thinking about women in that way, and that they're badasses and that they're go-getters and they can achieve anything they want, that then when like somebody would tell me, oh, there's this sexism culture, or there's this thing where like women, you know, are being like pushed down by the man, you know, and they can't achieve the wage gap and all that stuff, and I would just be like, nah, that doesn't exist. Come on. Are you kidding me? Like,
right. Women can do whatever they want.
Like that does not exist.
Right. Yeah.
That is a no. And then through education and through years of knowing the truth outside of this, what I think is a positive bubble that I grew up in as far as that theme is concerned, or that issue is concerned, I realized, I was like, oh yeah, there's people out there who are assholes and who say things like, oh, but, you know, she's not going to do it because she's a woman. And to me, that is like so alien from growing up that it doesn't fit. It's like this like round hole in my head, and you're trying to fit this square peg, and I'm like, it doesn't fit that there would be people like that.
And also what's interesting is people talking like that enough. At least for me as a young kid hearing it, I would go, okay, well, so that's the cliche, that's normal. So this is said enough where I guess I'm just accepting this because we're only reacting to our environment, what's going on. So it's tough to know what to believe and how to empathize with someone, because if everyone's saying what they're saying, what women are saying isn't true,
right.
You go, okay, well, I guess they lie. Like what? Like you grow up in this, right. And then once you get old enough, you're so confident in it. Then you're speaking what's true to you. Right. So it is a system, and so for me, it's about asking myself and all the men I know to just like look at it a little bit, mm-hmm. and don't just accept that the truths you know as truths or the beliefs that you have about how men and women are different are just the way they are, because they don't have to be. It's kind of a cool time right now to know that.
Right. Yeah.
Because we're able to, like, everybody's like, oh, there are things that need to change.
Right.
And it's not just women complaining. This is just something I thought of on the way here. Please be honest with this one. How do you think your experiences as a man, now you played sports and that definitely protected you from some of this, but as a man interacting with women, how do you think your experience has been different as a handsome man? Because you are handsome, and you don't need to say yes or no to it. I just am telling you are. So to me, because this is a part of it too, because I think a lot of men who could watch this interview, our talk here, and go, well, that's easy for him to say. Mm. He's never had a hard time with girls. He's never had a tough time with the guys. He's a handsome, athletic guy. So life must have been easier. So tell me about how you think things would have been different, but also tell me if what I'm saying is true to you or not.
Well, for one, is that I never considered myself handsome in that way because
I'll believe you.
Because of what I think. Okay, when I see a male model or an actor, I go, oh, that's a handsome person, and I don't see myself in those shoes. But when it comes to dealing with women and girls, when I was younger, being handsome, or what the definition of whatever handsome is, it might have an initial positive edge.
Sure.
But very quickly, that all falls to shit if you don't have personality, if you don't have brain, and if you don't have something interesting to say. Because here's the thing about dating and about relationships is that women have been hit on since the moment they're 13 years old by not only guys their age, but also older, nonstop, especially in Latin countries, literally nonstop, whistled at, heckled at, whatever. I mean, it is a nonstop bombardment of, hey, I'm knocking on your door because I'm interested. So, and that's on real life, not even counting dating apps or any other stuff that we have nowadays. So women have the experience that we don't.
Yeah.
Which is literally by the time a woman is 20, they probably have had, I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of women have had over 500 men of different ages and different times in their life come to them and say, hey, I like you. Can I take you out for an ice cream, or can I take you out for a drink, or whatever? They have this experience. So when you come in at 23 to talk to a 21-year-old girl, she has had more experience with the opposite sex approaching her than you have of women coming to you and saying, hey, do you want to go out with me? Mm-hmm. So they can smell for the most part, they smell the bullshit. They can smell if you're confident or not. And that has happened to me where I've seen a girl that I like, a woman that I like, and I go up to talk to them. And if I'm not confident, or if I'm not approachable in that moment for whatever X or Y reason, they notice it right away. And it doesn't matter. The looks, I have found, don't really matter. I had a colleague who is 6'5", and he looks like a Greek statue, and nice guy. And when we would go to lounges and bars, their heads would turn. Every woman's head would turn. And I would be walking behind them like, 5'11", like, hey, I'm the small guy here. But as soon as he started speaking to them, about 96% of them would just walk away. And he was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
But,
it is what it is.
It was the perfect example of, I think this guy's a good looking guy. And yeah, so personality, charm, wit goes a very long way, a huge, huge way, more so than looks, from what I've experienced.
And you talk about approaching somebody with confidence. Where does your confidence come from? Like, if you had to describe where, because I think there's a lot of men out there who don't have confidence in dating or in their jobs or whatever, and it's something that perpetuates itself, a lack of confidence. So where, how do you see your confidence? Where does it come from?
It comes from knowing your worth, knowing that you have something to bring to the table that others might not, or that you can bring something that others also bring, but you bring it with a different flavor. If you bring it back to the arepas, I can tell you that other people can cook arepas, but my arepas are the best arepas in town. I'll say it here on this podcast, and I put my money on where my mouth is. Everybody come to the house. No, but confidence comes from knowing that what you have inside is greater than any physical attribute that you can have. If there's a woman that I like, that I really like, that I think, okay, this is somebody worth my time and worth my love. I know that there's other guys out there that are way better looking. There's other guys that are way more wealthier. That there's other guys that may come from, I don't know, bigger families or better families. That there's other people out there with different attributes that they can bring to the table. But I know inside that when I want to love someone, that it's very hard to beat the way that I love people, whether it's in a romantic relationship or in a friendship, because I give 100% fully. And that's the confidence when I go talk to somebody that I really like. I know in my heart that I could make their life better, even just as a friend, that I'd be there for them. So I don't know. That's a long-winded answer.
But that is confidence. And also, yeah, very important to point out, like, that openness to being like, in whatever version of a relationship this is, just knowing I want to have you in my life. I can provide this. If you had a friend in your life who was having trouble, you saw the way that they were interacting with women was more archaic, maybe reminiscent of some of the things you experienced as a kid. What kind of advice do you think would be actionable and real and useful for someone who was, if they were in a spot where they were not being as empathetic to women?
The way I have approached it, it differs in the person's age, because I think that up to 35 years of age, there's still some malleability in the belief systems that people have, and after that it's just harder. It's cemented already, and it's a little bit harder to change. But the first thing that I would just do is start asking questions, and questions about how do they feel about treating women in a sort of way. And when you start asking those questions to somebody that is not in line with a kind of healthy thinking, they also start looking at themselves. They know, in the age of information and nowadays, they know, like, oh no, like I say that, but that's joking. That's just joking around. That's it's the Cuban thing, it's the Venezuelan thing. It's like what we do, but like, you really respect, like, and then you're like, okay, cool. cool. But tell me more about that, and you start digging and digging and digging.
Yeah, there's a woman, Peggy Orenstein. She wrote a book called Boys and Sex, and she calls that hilarious. The word hilarious, using that as an excuse for any sort of talk or any sort of action.
Right.
If it's funny, if it's hilarious, then it's okay.
Right. And I found that especially in the Latin community, when you start speaking to people in an open way about whether it's their issues that they're bringing to the table and you want to help them with, or whether it's questions that they have in both a spiritual, emotional, and sometimes in a physical way too. And you start speaking to them about how being open with these things is cool, is sexy. It's not only healthy, but it helps them.
There's a release.
There's
right?
a release,
yeah.
Exactly. And their faces change. I see it. I see their faces change. Like, I've never talked about this before with anybody. And then I tell them, okay, well, you can talk to me, man. Like, I'm never going to tell this to anybody. I'm not going to, and there's no judgment here. Like, that whole thing of like, oh, we're, men, like, we don't do that, or we don't talk about those things. We don't cry. We don't go to therapy either, because if you go to therapy, you're crazy.
It's the most dangerous thing in the world.
Right.
And also, what I found is dangerous is if you're not going to therapy, and maybe you're going through a lot of stuff emotionally, you are going to therapy. Someone close to you is absorbing all that shit. A lot of times it's a partner that hurts you, that hurts them, that hurts 100%. Your relationship. Yeah.
And because, again, I'm going back to the Latino culture, because we haven't been educated in that.
Yeah.
There's no way of recognizing it. Like, literally, I've seen people do things to hurt their relationships, and they're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why my wife is treating me this way, or why my wife is being short. And I say, have you seen what you're doing? Have you looked in the mirror right now? Because, and I'm not even talking about any physical or mental abuse, not even to that extreme, but something as simple as being self-aware and caring about your partner in a way that they know that you got their back. And they know that, you know, if they came home from a hell of a day, that you're not going to be like, hey, babe, can you make me dinner?
Yeah.
No, like, get up, go to the kitchen, make your wife some dinner, you know? It's all good, you know? And hey, if you're going to make dinner like for 2 weeks straight, that's all good too.
Yeah.
You know?
It all balances out. It's not like you're now going to become a woman because now you cook.
Right.
And that is the belief.
Right.
That if you are too feminine, number one, that's bad. If there's anything feminine's bad.
Yeah.
And then number two, that you will lose your status as a man and
Right.
you're less than.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes from, there's a spectrum of this toxicity in the Latino culture too, for example. And something as stupid as when I go back to Miami and I'm wearing pink Nike shoes. And I get at least 3 times a day the comment, hey, that's cool. Do they make those for men though?
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And it's a joke and it's all good. And we all laugh at it. But it's a very tiny version of the bigger.
Yeah. The microaggression. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You know? And they're like, oh, is that what they teach you in LA? Like to wear pink shoes? And I'm like, yeah. And it's amazing.
Right. And it's interesting because it's not like you don't have a sense of humor. It's that you're just like, what are you picking on me for?
Yeah.
There are things that aren't actually funny. They're only funny to you because it's mean. For me, some people might think I'm being boring or like kind of like too nice or something, but like we don't got to be mean to each other. There's enough shit going on.
Yeah.
Even in small ways, no reason to be mean.
But there's a great way to disarm those kinds of things, and it comes back to the confidence. You got the pink shoes. They make those for men, and just like, yeah, they do actually. But you know, don't be jealous that you don't have enough swag to pull this off.
Yeah,
you know, and that's
it's great,
and that's it,
and that's about confidence. It's not a gendered thing.
That's
yeah.
it. And then they go like, okay, yeah. I got swag too. I wear those pink shoes. Give me those pink shoes. I'm going to order those pink shoes right now.
That's such a perfect response because, again, it's status. We're all, always kind of clawing at more status. Putting somebody down brings you up and all that stuff. And it's like, it's a game doesn't need to play.
Yeah.
If we can collaborate, have some fun, goof around, be laughing, that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Miguel, what do you think you are going real macro here? What do you think you're here on Earth to do?
Wow, that is macro.
And it is one of the biggest questions I can think of.
What I feel the most alive doing is telling stories. I believe I was changed by movies many times over. Movies changed my life. I remember going into a movie a certain person and coming out as a different person. And whenever I'm telling stories at my highest potential, narrative stories, that's when I feel the most alive. So that's where I feel my calling. I really feel in tune with the soul of the universe and really feel like things, inspiration just flowing through me. Because of that feeling, I believe that what I'm meant here to do is to tell stories, 2.5 hour poems that tell you this is how life is, and leave them behind for people to see them the same way that other people and other filmmakers and other storytellers have left stories behind for me to be changed by. And I think that if you can, it's super cliche, but if you can teach one person a lesson or show them a lesson or show them a mirror to something that they've needed to see and change them in a positive way, then that's the greatest reward for any storyteller, I think, in any medium, mine is film. I find that when somebody sees one of my pieces and they tell me, I got it, I got this and that, and you know what, it made me think about how guilt can kill you, and how you need to let go of guilt. You need to let go. You know what I did? I called my buddy that I haven't seen in 2 years because of some stupid beef, and I told him, hey, let's go get a beer. And we got a beer, and now we're friends again. That happens, and I'm like, yo, that's it. That's, and it doesn't need to be some life-changing thing. It's just, I believe that stories have the power to change your life for the better. And that's, what I think I was placed here to do.
Yep. I think that is such an incredible reason to be here. Just everything you said. And also, you are impacting a community that is not only current, but ongoing. Mm-hmm. That is the beauty of film, is that it can just go and last and will be for a long time, until whatever happens to the way that we enjoy entertainment. When you said that you're in line with the soul of the universe, what does that feel like?
That means that I am incredibly passionate about the future of what the future holds. And I am incredibly grateful for everything that has happened in my past, good and bad, because it has shaped me to be the person that I am at this very moment, and given me the perspective to know how to navigate the path in a way that I can reach those heights and reach those goals. And with me, I feel I carry my community. I carry even my ancestors, my community, my family, and with a healthy sense of responsibility forward. Every action I make is rooted on how can I get there, and not only how can I get there, how can we all get there, so that we can live the life that I think the people that I love deserve. I think that the people that I love, the people that surround me, deserve nothing but the best. They're not perfect people, but they are good-hearted people. They deserve good fortune. For me, it's when I feel that connected to the soul of the world, it's I know where I'm going, and I'm going to be in a place where I'm going to be able to provide good fortune to people that are in my community, and also to people that are not, that are beyond my community, that I can help in any way, shape, or form, whether it's in Venezuela or other countries where that kind of work is needed. And yeah, it's that's what it feels like. It's almost as if I have this timeless tunnel vision that I understand, okay, it's all going to be good. I'm going to get there. We're going to get there. And I'm going to look back at this moment and say, yeah, I was right. It was good. Uh-huh. That's what it feels like when I'm writing certain stories and at my fullest potential. And with my collaborators, I start talking about it, and I don't stop for 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And it happens more when I do narrative filmmaking.
Yeah,
I do the commercials and the music videos, and I have a ton of fun doing it. And I'm incredibly lucky to be able to do that as for a living. And but narrative filmmaking is where that everything just aligns.
Yeah. How does your heart feel right now?
Great. I feel very full.
Yeah.
Especially after the experiences that I've had over the last couple of weeks, but also being here. I told you that, I binged like 6 episodes of the podcast a couple months back, and when you asked me to come on, I was like, what? I was so honored and happy, and I feel incredibly grateful. Despite whatever challenges lie ahead, it is a privilege to be able to do it. It's a privilege to be able to be here. It's a privilege to have you as my friend. is a privilege to see the things that I've seen and experience the things that I've seen, and I feel very wealthy in a non-monetary sense.
The more important sense.
Yeah, in the more important
oh my
sense.
Gosh.
And the beautiful thing is that nobody can take that away from me. It doesn't matter what I do. If I continue to be a filmmaker or if I'm a fisherman in the Philippines, no one can take that away. And that makes me really happy.
I really appreciate you telling me that you liked the show. That was number one. I'm like, it's just good to hear. But I knew you coming in, you were the right person to kind of try some new directions on today. And I appreciate you going there with me.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I'd say perfect. Can I say perfect episode? A perfect episode. My friend, thank you.
Thank you.